welcome to Work the Left Side. I'm joined by James Carr because we are discussing wrestling in 1997 as usual, because that's what we do. We like to go back and watch the godlike wrestling that will be happening soon, hopefully in 1997.
We've seen glimpses of it.
Little bits. So, obviously we did WWF last time, Revenge of the Taker, so we're around about the April time period, and WCW's offering was Spring Stampede. So yeah, we've both watched Spring Stampede, and we're both going to sort of break it down, have a laugh, poke some fun, admire what needs to be admired, and take the mick out of anything that doesn't.
Yeah. Probably less to take the mick out of on this one. It was probably better than some of the other WCW ones we've seen. Still, yeah, wasn't perfect. I feel well, we'll talk about that at the end, how we think WCW is comparing to WWF, but we'll talk about that at the end, but it's definitely improving WCW.
Most definitely. So, with that in mind, let's look at you tell me. You're the organised person. I'm the one who just wings it. So I am entrusting you to have all the matches to hand and to remind me what they were.
Yeah, well, the first one was Rey Mysterio and Ultimo Dragon, which I enjoyed a lot. And we were just saying off air, there's going to be some high scores in this one. We haven't talked about which ones, but I immediately think this is probably one of your highest scoring matches.
Yeah. I just thought it was awesome. I think it's Ultimo's best match we've seen so far this year. I think it's Rey's best match we've seen this year.
Yeah,
he's not against Vince Iakea, who had his best match of the year as well, which we will discuss later. I just thought this was an awesome match. Ultimo just looked fierce. They booked him to look it didn't make Rey look bad in any way, shape, or form. You know, he was the underdog. That's what Rey is. Rey's always the underdog. But Ultimo just looked fierce in this match for me. You know, he was lifting him up out of 3 counts. He was just stiff kicks. I thought,
it was great, and I felt it was a bit of a bit different when we see Rey Mysterio go against the other Mexican wrestlers or the other masked wrestlers, because obviously, he's Japanese, isn't he, Ultimo Dragon? Although he does wrestle in Mexico a lot, but he's got more of a grounded style, and I just really liked seeing how I thought that complemented Rey, because we got to see him do a bit of the grounder stuff, but it really built up to the high flying at the end, and I really enjoyed that. So it was like I felt Rey Mysterio matured in this match compared to some of the ones we've seen earlier in the year, and even going back into 96.
Yeah, no, definitely leveled up against Ultimo. Just even though Shivani kept referring to him as the Ultimate Dragon, it's Ultimo Dragon, not Ultimate Dragon, you idiot. But bless you, Tony, we still love you. But yeah, I think obviously Rey's had a chance to shine. He's leveled up. And Ultimo he was just amazing at this time.
Yeah, he was really good. What an opening match! Really got the crowd into it. Thought it was fantastic. Even like little things when this is sort of halfway through the match, Rey, he's got him in a sleeper for ages, and then Rey just reverses it and gets a sleeper, and there's such a big pop from the crowd, and then that kind of like leads into all the high flying. But it's like Rey Mysterio does so much crazy stuff, and then he does a sleeper and he just gets a huge pop, and that's down to the match structure and just how they did it. It was really good, and it got a pop from me as well. I really enjoyed it.
That was what I was going to mention as well, is because obviously we've watched, this is probably like the 4th show now, and as much as we've enjoyed like the Malenkos versus Guerreros, Eddie's versus Jerichos, the fans always seem quite lackluster. They don't seem to be digging it. They don't seem to be getting involved. But the crowd were popping huge for this match. The crowd seemed to be really enthusiastic for this match. So that was awesome. That kind of elevated the match as well for me.
Yeah, definitely. Some funny things on commentary. You've already mentioned, Shivani, call him Ultimate Dragon. Did you hear that they were talking about the National Enquirer reporting Rey Mysterio and one of the Friends stars? I thought that was funny. Who was it? Was it Jennifer Aniston? I don't know. Like, probably not. She was with Brad Pitt at this point. Maybe it was like Courtney Cox or something. Or, yeah.
She has got a thing for wrestlers. Obviously, David Arquette later on. So it
yeah,
could have been.
I feel like it was Courtney Cox. That feels familiar. Yeah, I don't know. I've probably read it somewhere. I wouldn't have been aware of the National Enquirer at the time, but.
But yeah, no, I popped for that, and I was like, oh, it's got to be sort of Courtney because it's the wrestling thing. But again, it was just kind of name dropping, saying WCW being like, our guys are that good. They're going out with celebrities kind of thing, or they're rumored to be with these really famous people at this time.
I thought that, yeah, it's like it was said in jest, but it was also like, yeah, look at us rubbing shoulders with the celebrities. Like that's, even though it's a make-believe newspaper, that's quite cool that Rey Mysterio was in. Yeah, it was in the headlines. God, he's still making headlines today outside of wrestling. Did you hear that the celebrity boxing? Obviously, he's a wrestler as well. But Logan Paul called out Rey Mysterio after his boxing match on Saturday in the post-match interview, and I was like, that's quite cool. Like it's called Misfits Boxing. It's like the YouTubers and like. It's a bit. Some people view it as a bit of a joke, but it's well, I guess it is a bit of a joke, like compared to boxing. But it's it's got a big following. Anyway, back to WCW.
That's what matters, and yeah, it's always nice to see Ray get a bit of love as well. Anyway, because if anyone deserves it, I think Ray does. So, but yeah, after this match, what did we have?
Yeah, a couple of. I loved how. There was stuff in this match that we see today and we think it's like sort of so new and exciting, and it's done in this match. Like Dragon does a drop kick to him when he does an Asai moonsault off the second, just when he's upside down. And like they're always doing super kicks from that spot, aren't they? And I was like, oh, it's been around ages, that spot. Since then.
Yeah. Go on. I'll jump into the next match. We haven't even rated this one yet, so apologies.
Yeah, and he does a giant swing as well. I was like Cesaro, which is an old school move, but again, like it's just like there's so much like sort of modernish stuff in this whole.
Was it this one as well where he got him up into like the helicopter spin and then he just backbreaked him? I think Ultimo got him up onto his back, kind of.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I think I've seen him do that in other matches as well in WCW.
It just looked brutal though. It's just like where you lifted him up. It's like Ray was going for the spinning around with DDT or head scissors, and he just trapped him, span around, and then just dropped and backbreaked him.
He did do it.
Oh, that got a all out of me. I had a couple of power bombs as well. Ultimo did on Ray, got a reaction as well.
Yeah. So on scoring, and this is the first one, so I didn't really have anything to compare it to on the show, but I gave it an 8, and I think that's I'm comparing it to what else we given an 8. I think we gave that ladder match with Malenko and
6
earlier in the year, and I almost feel like I prefer this match, to be honest, to that one. So maybe this is an 8.5. Like, it was a really good match. I just thought it was great. But
yeah,
it's getting quite high.
I did give it an 8 originally, but then there's a match later on that I think is better, and I don't know if I can give that a 9 because it's got to be higher than this.
Oh, so, wow!
Yeah,
this is my highest scoring match on the card. That's interesting. Yeah.
So, but yeah, we'll go. Yeah, I'll say an 8 as well because I did give it an 8, and it's only the match later on that might lose a few points for the Gaga finish. So maybe that might just, but yeah, an 8 for this one because I just think, both guys just absolutely smashed it. For an opening match, it was just unreal.
Yeah.
No, so
good. On to the women's match. Kiera Hoto and Medusa. Is that the right way? Yeah. My spelling is clearly incorrect, but I hope I said that right. I thought this was good as well. Like it was like a solid wrestling match. I feel Medusa's matches always tend to be quite solid. The women's division it's a lot better than WWF, but it's still it's kind of like downplayed, I feel, in this era. I feel a bit sorry for the women that they didn't get more of a spotlight, because the wrestling is really good, but yeah, it's just not really. There's no real sort of story or anything going in, or there's no real stakes, are there? And I know Eric Bischoff loves his steaks, but he clearly forgot. I'm not. That's not a pun. He actually talks about that on his podcast, like how like stakes is important, like having a reason to be in the match, like even fighting for the championship is like a very basic stake, but then obviously you can get more personal stakes and stuff, but there's nothing in the women. Oh wait, there is the women's title actually, wasn't there? Yeah, this was for the women's title, which they don't talk about at all, which is why I can barely even remember it, but yeah, it was for the women's title.
Well, this is the first women's match we've seen so far this year. So that shows you how.
Yeah, I think there's been stuff on Nitro, and I watched quite a lot of 96 stuff where it was starting to heat up a bit, but then there's nothing. So this is maybe the start of it again, I guess.
Because they mentioned, I think, obviously, like Medusa winning something at Starrcade, which was obviously the December beforehand. So it's taken 4 or 5 months for her to get a title shot after winning the title shot, on a pay-per-view kind of thing. So yeah, it's definitely not the focus point for anybody in the office. As you say, it's a shame, because I think probably went 6-7 minutes. But it was solid. Medusa does the business. Akira did the business. Then you had the iffy ending, but planting seeds for future stuff.
So I didn't mind the ending, because we're talking about the women not having anything, but this did actually start the story with Luna. So I guess that there are going to be stakes. After saying all that, it's going to lead into something with Luna, isn't it? So I didn't mind that finish. I thought it was all right. I enjoyed this match. I thought it was solid, better than average, so I gave it a 6.
I gave it 5.5, just slightly better than an average. It was just the length of it. Obviously, it kind of felt like a TV match, not a pay-per-view match, but it was still good. It did its, like I said, it did the business. The fans reacted really well, so they seemed into it, and it set up the Luna angle for the next show or the next Nitro or wherever they want to play it out. It was nice. It was nice to see the women get a bit of time. So I'm not going to begrudge it being there, and it was awesome to see Medusa. So it was. I'm not going to recommend anybody go out their way to watch it, but don't skip it either. If you're watching this show, just watch this match.
Yeah, no, I thought it was. Maybe I was still on a high from the previous match, but I definitely enjoyed it. Next up, we are our pal Prince Iaukea. He's against William Regal. Probably his best match we've seen him in, I'd say. Definitely improved, but still shouldn't be champion. And he wins the match.
But you know why it's his best match? He's
against Regal.
He's against Regal. But did you notice how much they slowed it down as well, though? Regal dominated the pace, made sure Iaukea wasn't doing anything stupid or giving himself a chance to mess up any moves. It was just everything grounded, very sort of strategic, very just bop, bop, bop. Right, this is the formula.
He should be like a babyface sort of flyer athletic wrestler. And if he's against Rey Mysterio before, who's just so much better as a babyface and so much better at flying, that it's obviously not going to work. So now they've got him against like a real villain, and who's got a grounded style, and so that complements him a lot more. And we saw that in the first match with Ray as well, where he was against someone slightly more grounded. It makes so much more out of the flying and the cruiserweight attack.
Oh, definitely, it means something. But I think it was nice how the commentators picked up on it at the end, and it made Iaukea seem more legit than he probably was. He beat Regal with a technical reversal.
Yeah, that's true. Which I'm not sure if I liked him doing that to Regal. When I was just annoyed he won again, because I was like, oh my! I thought he was going to be champ for like a week.
3 months, 4 months. He's still going. Obviously, we've got Slamboree next, so we'll see what happens. The next show. But if they haven't worked with Regal for the next few months, it's only going to benefit him. And I think it benefit us as fans. It's just we're going to get enjoyable matches at least out of them. So,
but I also feel it's a bit of a waste of Regal. Like we could be seeing some good stuff here. Did you see him do the Samoa Joe spot where he just walks out of the way when he does? Yeah. Again, we were talking about that before. There's so much stuff on this show where you're like, oh wow, yeah, I forgot they did it all the way back here.
No, that's it. It's not new. It's not innovative. It's like anything in life. There's pretty much nothing you can do now that hasn't been done before at some point.
I feel there's a lot of that in WCW, more so probably because they had a lot of the undercard was that technical cruiserweight style. A lot of modern day wrestling has sort of cruiserweight technical style, so they probably got a lot of their influence from this era.
Most definitely, definitely. It's just like I said, just the undercard was just so technically gifted, and the high flyers were just marvelous. I don't even know why I use that word, but they were marvelous. There you go. Yeah. I'll embrace the word. This for me, I'm trying to remember what we gave. I think Prince IK has never got above a 5. I'm pretty certain his last matches were 3s and 4s. So
I don't think he's got a 5 yet.
I'm going to give him a 5 on this one.
I gave it a 5. Yeah, and I think the finish annoyed me, so that's why I marked it down. Because I actually marked the women's match higher than this, but I don't know, maybe the wrestling was better in this one. No, I quite like the women's match. I'll stand by that.
Yeah, that's fine. Obviously, Regal carries this a lot. It was just great to see Regal.
It felt a bit one-sided. Yeah, it felt I couldn't really mark it higher than 5 because I still don't really rate him, and I feel like they only sort of pushed him to compete with The Rock winning the Intercontinental title, and they're just sort of hanging on to that. Yeah, he might have the title long because The Rock's going to lose the Intercontinental belt, I think, in the next month in WWF. So I wonder which one will lose first. Prince IK had the belt longer than The Rock, maybe.
Yeah, because obviously I think The Rock's on the verge of the injury, isn't he? Whether he might have picked it up at Revenge of the Taker, I think we kind of speculated.
I think he might even lose it the night after. I haven't watched it yet, but we'll get to that. I know he loses it to Owen. It's on Raw because I remember it happened out of nowhere. So I wonder if does Owen get the tag belts in Intercontinental at the same time? Maybe and the European with Davey. Anyway, that's not for this podcast. That's for our WWF ones.
So what is after this one then?
Oh, so we took a bit of a downturn. I felt Public Enemy versus Jeff Jarrett and Mongo Michael, and I can't get into Public Enemy. I find them both sort of bad, but also really cheesy as well. And it's like that sort of 90s rap that I feel like I knew that was cheesy at the time. Like WWF had Men on a Mission doing the same thing. And I'm not exactly cool, but I think even I knew that was all a bit cheesy. This comes from someone with a cheesy Russian character. But
give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to move my camera for a second because I just realised I'm on my mobile data, not my Wi-Fi. So give me 2 seconds to get you back on Wi-Fi. Graphic of Public Enemy for everyone. And obviously, Jarrett Michaels, it's the same old shtick,
I actually got my sister's staying here at the moment, and she walked in as I was on this match. And she's a fan of wrestling, but very casual fan. And it was quite interesting, some of the comments, like she's never seen WCW. And she was like, oh, who meant to be the babyface in this match? And I was like, oh, Public Enemy, I think. And then I was like, then I sort of watched it, and I couldn't really tell who was meant to be the babyfaces. Like, I think it was Public Enemy, but it was kind of difficult to say because also Jarrett and Mongo were doing like babyface stuff, and it was a bit confusing who you're meant to be behind. And then she made a comment. She was like, "Oh, so these guys are like the Dudley Boys," and I was like, "I guess." Kind of like they're like a poor man's Dudley Boys. They're like the original. No, Dudley Boys were around at this point, of course. Yeah, 97. They're in the ECW, weren't they, doing their thing? So maybe
they hadn't done the tables yet. Public Enemies were the guys that kind of.
They were the original. I guess it's the tables that really made them think about that. But so were Public Enemy doing tables before Dudley Boys then? That was Public Enemy were. I guess they were originators in the table thing. Maybe that's why they were so popular then.
I think at that time it was totally nobody was doing anything table related outside of ECW. Definitely not this mainstream. And I think obviously when any chance the fans get to do a little dance, they're happy. That automatically makes the team a face. They just don't work as a face for me. They're just not good. I just don't like them.
No, I don't. I'm always a bit
kudos for the elbow drops though through the table.
Yeah. I do enjoy it when they do their stupid table bumps, in fairness, but I roll my eyes a little bit whenever their match is up. I'm a bit like, oh god, another one of these. And again, why do they win? There's so many matches in this where I'm like, why did they win? Like, well, at least this one and the last one. I wasn't happy with them winning. And it was what was the finish? It was real messy. I guess it was.
Deborah left a briefcase unattended.
Oh,
one of the Public Enemy.
Yeah, they're really hammering that briefcase home. I feel they've overdone that. They've overdone Jarrett and Mongo as well. That's getting a bit boring now.
Jarrett had the figure 4 on. He was sat up like that in the figure 4.
Yeah, that's it.
Falls back 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, so it wasn't. Yeah, it was even like it was a weird pin because he was in the figure 4, wasn't he? So I suppose that's kind of a creative finish, I suppose, but they did it. It just felt messy the way they did it.
That's a Public Enemy match. I just think they all seem messy. I don't think I've seen one that looked particularly well done, or even. And it's not even like it's a good messy. I sometimes like fights to look a little bit messy because it makes it look genuine.
Yeah,
that's not even the case this time. It's just bad messy, and
it doesn't look genuine because it's like messy, like obviously messing stuff up, and that doesn't look genuine. It just looks like you're doing something rehearsed and botching it.
So this one, I pretty much had no love for this. Don't like Jarrett. I like Michaels. I think he's I like him. I'm not supposed to like him. It's got a 3.5 from me.
You got a 3 for me. Yeah. Fairly consistent with our scoring so far, it seems.
It was low down, but yeah, and I know within a few months, we don't get Jarrett Michaels anymore. It's done and dusted. If I remember correctly, I think it kind of lasts to about June, July, and then it all goes tits up. So at least we don't have much more to see, which is good.
Yeah. On to this might be your high scorer. Is it Benoit or Malenko? Is that your high scorer? Yeah. I preferred Dragon and Mysterio. It was a great match, and I put great wrestling match. Has to be 2 of the best wrestlers in the world at this point. Definitely. Well, 2 of the best wrestlers at any point. I think my enjoyment of it, or at least my scoring of it, was soured again because I was watching it with a more casual fan, and I think my sister just found it like kind of boring. She was like, I never really understand like why they do this in wrestling, where they slow it down and do this sort of technical submission stuff. And I maybe had my promoter hat on, and I'm always like looking what the casual fan is interested in. So I did mark it down maybe more than I would have. But I put in my comments, I really like this, but I think the crowd are a bit bored. They weren't as into it as they were the first match.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I agree with the fans not being into it as much. But I love when you get 2 guys who are just so good at doing that sort of reversal. I mean, Malenko is obviously a man of 1,000 holds. Ben was a man of 1,000 reversals. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I like it every now and again. I don't want to see a whole show of it, and I don't want to see it, all the time. But I just think when the 2 guys are that good, I kind of just sat back and just appreciated, and just the movement, the fluidity of it, the gracefulness. It was smooth. It was. I think it was a thing of beauty, personally. And yeah, just the ending. I get the ending. but it just kind of took away from it. I was just like, oh, that could have just been like a 5-star masterpiece for me, but it just tainted at the end.
Yeah, I marked it down because of the crowd and the finish as well. I don't know why they need to do all the smoz at the finish.
Yeah,
it was really confusing as well, wasn't it? Like all sorts of people. And when so what am I saying? Why is this, Kevin Sullivan comes out, and I'm just like, you booked this, didn't you? Oh, you booked this,
Mr. Booker Man. Yeah, with the kendo stick. I mean, it was a good-looking kendo shot. I'm just like, I'm done with Benoit Sullivan. I don't, they could have ended that after last month's match, and that would have been an amazing finish to the feud. Obviously, Sullivan's got.
It means so much to Sullivan because it's a real life thing. Perhaps he got a skewed, like he thought people were really into it, and maybe a few people were like who were proper sort of behind the scenes and knew the behind the scenes story. But I just don't think, I don't think the sort of everyday fan really cared at this point about Sullivan and Benoit.
I think it had the perfect ending, and it's like in TV terms, it jumped the shark. It just took it too far.
Oh, they had that chain match on the last show, which was actually really good. Yeah, that was probably the perfect ending. You're right. That was actually, that was really good. But why are they still doing it?
But again, you've kind of planted the seeds. On let Sullivan walk past him to go crack Benoit, and you kind of like, you shouldn't be letting another horseman get whacked. But then Anderson has stated lots of times that he doesn't give a shit about the personal feuds kind of thing. So maybe he's just like, it's not my business. Even though it's a horseman, it's women are involved. I'm not getting involved. So I can kind of flip that. But I did like Eddie's face when they were kind of dragging him off, implying like he was part of the temple kind of thing, and had the belt on his shoulder, and just Eddie's face like, what?
And actually, I do always appreciate Jackie. She actually, she was the one that really extended the feud for me and made me interested in it again. Even though she's just a storyline person in it, I just think she's great. And she's so jacked, but she's tiny and she comes out in her little heels. I didn't really like Jackie, and I guess she was meant to be a bit of a competing force with China because they're doing that at the same time, aren't they? But
it's about similar timelines. But I should sort of say height wise, it's just Jackie's got the build and she is awesome. I would not mess with her. She's totally one of those people that I would just be like, nope, I'm not saying anything bad.
It's China and Jackie are really the first two. No one really talks about Jacqueline doing this, but it is at the same time. They're the first two where they're just smacking guys around like on the outside of the ring, and that wasn't really done before, was it? I'm trying, like Sherry did a little bit, but it was always when they were like blindsided and she was just like kicking them. She wasn't body slamming them and crazy stuff like that these two are doing.
Yeah, but I think maybe Jackie gets overlooked because of the size difference, because China
I think she gets overlooked in WWF history as well, because I think she was in a difficult time to be a good female wrestler, because it was all like, it was just before the Divas. They weren't even wrestling. It was like Miss Kitty getting her tits out and stuff and like all the pudding matches and that stuff.
You had
Ivory, Jacqueline did as well, didn't she?
Well, yeah, she did, but you had Ivory and Jackie kind of carrying the torch for actual wrestlers, I think, at that time. But yeah, Jackie is very underappreciated. She's great at what she does. And she's generally, she looks legitimate, which is the biggest compliment I can give to somebody. So, but yeah, this wasn't going to be a 9. It got knocked down to an 8.5. So it's just above the.
I think I was really harsh when I was marking this because of the finish, and I think the crowd. I gave it a 7 at the time, but I think that was too low. I think give it a 7, but I do stand by the first match. I thought was better. I think, and I got this with the last match as well, because it was Benoit and Malenko. I had such high expectations. I was slightly disappointed. So I think I went, I think I'll give it a 7 point. I'd want half a point between this and the first match. So 7.5.
Yeah, that's fine. It's only a 0.5 difference.
Yeah.
No, 1 point. Yes, one difference. But yeah, it's still a very good score, for a mid-card match.
And
So
it losing points for perhaps stuff that isn't their fault.
exactly. So that's no besmirchment on their part. So was it the tag match next?
Well,
Oh,
no,
meant to
it
be.
wasn't the tag match, but it was the tag team title match.
Yeah,
And next we've got the tag match for a singles championship
that's
opportunity.
it.
It's all backwards, isn't it? But Kevin Nash, Rick Steiner. First comment, felt like it was a wrong two wrestling in a singles. I guess the other two are injured, but I feel that
No,
Scott Hall and Scott Steiner should.
Scott Hall's in rehab at this
Oh
point.
I did realize that. I
Um,
knew they were either injured or he was in rehab. That makes sense at this point. He's obviously having a few problems at the moment, Scott. I didn't realize it happened this early. Well, I guess it was always there, wasn't it? But I didn't realize he was like rehabbing and stuff this early into his WCW career. He's only been there a year, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it, because I'm the same as you. I kind of thought he had a good 2 or 3 years, and then it kind of started to decline, and it's like, no, actually, it was within like the first year, really.
Yeah.
They make reference to he's not been seen for like 4 weeks or something, so he's been gone a while now.
So that really means his entire WCW run was kind of tainted by this. So we did see like a lesser version of Scott Hall really in WCW, I think, and he's still done some great stuff even in the matches we've seen. But I feel his matches in WWF probably they were more historic, weren't they, than the WCW stuff. Like no one ever talks about specific matches that Scott Hall did in WCW. It's always about he was like the pioneer of NWO and like him and that first year when they came in. And so it's a shame really because it's still I've really enjoyed watching his tag team title run with Kevin Nash, and I think they've had some great tag matches. But in WWF, I just thought he was he was one of my favorites. So it's a shame he's gone down a bit. Anyway, on to this match. So
well, before we talk about this match, I think we've kind of skipped over some promos. I think Ric Flair's come out at some point prior to this. He's got a promo, talking about his return, setting up the next show. Sort of like talking about Piper, talking about Hogan, talking about Arn Anderson going in for surgery.
Yeah, because he's been gone for ages, Ric Flair. He's like he keeps turning up and doing interviews and like telling everyone to be friends with Jeff Jarrett, but that's kind of all he's been doing the last few months. Weird storyline with Jeff Jarrett.
But he's been out injured, hasn't he? Because he comes out and says, "Oh, the doctors have said I'm medically cleared from like the May the 1st kind of thing." So, Rick cut a promo. Obviously, the next show is at North Carolina, I believe, which obviously so he's in his hometown. He'll get a massive pop when he comes back. And I'm just trying to think if I've missed any. Oh, we missed the obviously the whole setup for this match where they try to interview Kevin Nash backstage.
Yeah.
Kevin Nash has got demands. The Steiners turn up. Kevin Nash spits in one of their faces. Scotty Steiner punches a policeman, gets handcuffed, and then maced and taken away.
I thought that was overly harsh punishment, Scott Steiner, for what he did. Like he got spit in the face and he got angry and then he's suddenly getting maced and arrested. And I was like, come on, like even in the real world, maybe if you were like gonna fight someone, like you'd be restrained, but you wouldn't be maced, especially if you've been provoked like that. But this is wrestling where they're fighting all the time, but for some reason this specific time where he gets maced for it and he gets arrested. I thought that was unfair. Yeah, and if I was his lawyer, I would have a lot of reasons to get him off. I feel
exactly. Previous examples of people fighting in the backstage area, people getting punched. None of them have ever been maced. So why was my client maced? It's unfair, prejudiced, and I do not appreciate it. So I guess,
behind the scenes, he's injured as well, right? Because they probably, I would imagine they would have gone with Scott Steiner if he hadn't been injured.
But it was, so basically it left. Kevin Nash's demand was Neil Patrick as referee. That's when it was going to be 2 against 1. obviously they've kept that demand in place, even though it's ended up being one-on-one.
I find it funny that heel ref wears a sleeveless ref top, but it does make me dislike him more. I really hate that sleeveless ref top. He looks so slimy, so it does work.
It's just it's the sleeves and the mullet. It just all works, and the goatee, the pretentious goatee. He just looks like an absolute douche, and it just works. He gets automatic heel heat, which is what it is meant to be. Just before I forget as well, massive shout out to Steiner's entrance music. I don't think I've ever really heard it before, but it was really prominent on this one. And then just goes really Steiner line, Steiner line.
Yeah.
I was like,
I loved some of the WCW theme music, especially because I wasn't overly familiar with WCW, but some of the standout ones, Steiner Brothers, Lex Luger as well. I quite enjoy his, and Sting's before he was a Crow, but yeah.
And obviously DDP's is just smells like Teen
Spirit. Yeah, a bit like Nirvana. Yeah.
A different note. So, but yeah, Kevin Nash, Rick Steiner. It started off really well. You know, both men got the offense in, and then it obviously turned into the inevitable NWO numbers and just absolute annihilation of poor Ricky Steiner.
Yeah, and it was weird because they're like teasing the breakup of the NWO, which again is really early on. I was surprised that stuff was going on already, and Nick Patrick like refusing to do the count, which was weird because he's kind of doing it like, no, he's had enough. I'm not, but it's like, well, count then. If he's had enough, he should count. But it was weird how there was dissension between NWO. He was taking those metal buckles really strong to the face, wasn't he? I don't know if his ear thing was blocking it, but I was thinking like he's taking some of them full on.
Definitely. And just how awkward it was to get. I mean, they must tie them on better than the WWE guys do because they were struggling to take that.
That made me laugh. It took ages to get it off, didn't it?
Took two men. You know, Six was trying to do it, and then DiBiase had to come over, and he's like, "Hell!" But it all ties into the Nitros beforehand, because apparently Kevin Nash has kicked off like the NWO guys were at the previous Nitro, I think, because they were at the double team debut with Dennis Rodman kind of thing. So there's a little bit of
mentioning Dennis Rodman. Yeah. I need to catch up with my Nitros now. They're back on the network. Because they took them all off, so I fell behind. But by our next WCW podcast, I want to be up to date with the Nitros as well, because I do enjoy watching them. Because I've never seen a lot of them.
They're awesome. I don't really know how to rate this match because, like I said, the first half of it is very good. Steiner got in some good offense. Seeing Rick Steiner throw around Kevin Nash was just impressive.
That was quite cool. Yeah. I wasn't overly keen on it. I give it a 4 out of 10. So in theory, I like this less than Prince Ikea match. Maybe it deserves more than the 4, but I just I didn't really like the ending. I felt it didn't really give me the same feel that when we've seen like Kevin Nash in the tag matches. Like it felt a bit throwaway because it was a singles match for a tag belt. So 4's probably a bit harsh, but I'd maybe give it a 5 again.
Yeah, I gave it a 5.5. Just like I sort of say, I enjoyed the first half of it when it was just out and out wrestling. I think both guys did really cool stuff. I say seeing Kevin Nash get thrown around, it's always impressive. You know, it's always cool to see Nash taking bumps as well. Kind of pops me because you don't do it that often for guys of Rick Steiner's level anyway.
Yeah.
And then just the ending, just the brutality, the snake eyes. And like I say, Rick Steiner was taking them very well.
Yeah, maybe I'm being a bit harsh. Yeah, definitely a 5. I still think the women's match was better.
It was more of a match. Yeah, it was definitely more of a match.
Yeah.
I think this one kind of told a story. and the fans were obviously on the edge of the seat.
That's like my measurement stick now for this one. Where do I rate it on Medusa's match?
So as we said, so we've had a singles match for the tag titles, and now it's time for a tag match for a number one contenders shot at the world title.
Yes, Lex Luger, Giant against Harlem Heat. Carry on. Yeah.
Before we get to this, obviously we had the infamous Booker T promo, which they've obviously edited very well on the network because it doesn't actually say the N word on the network anymore. He's like, "I'm gonna get you, sucker."
Whoever did that, like, they get 10 out of 10.
Definitely. But yeah, it was like, Hulk Hogan, I'm going to get you, sucker. But it's just, even though it's edited, just his reaction, you're like, yeah.
So I wasn't, because I was like, oh, I recognize this promo. And then he says, sucker. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And then the way he reacts, I was like, oh, yeah, it's obviously the promo. But if he hadn't, if they'd edited out the reaction, I might not have got it. Because,
But poor Sherry, though. Sherry was just like, it's okay. Okay, but I remember reading about this because Stevie Ray just does not react. But apparently, he was just going over his lines in his head at the time. He wasn't even listening. And then, obviously, Stevie Ray just kicks in with his lines. But you could see Booker's face. I was just like, oh, bless you, mate. You just totally sort of, that's you at that time, you just kind of like, this is never going to be forgotten. This is going to be one of those moments that keeps coming back up at some point. But bless him.
Such a famous moment. He should have won the match because it was the most famous moment of this match. I didn't even know it was to do with it. I didn't even know about this match, but I knew about that moment.
And obviously, on the flip side, Luger and Giant cut a very generic. We are the good guys, even though all four guys are good guys. To be fair, obviously, Luger and Giant are the fan favorites.
Harlem Heat sort of take the heel role, don't they, in this?
But Luger and Giant cut the, both. Whoever wins it, the better man wins it. Whoever wins it gets my respect. Blah blah blah. Very generic babyface speeches. And then we get the match, and they're constantly teasing. Maybe Harlem Heat are gonna have to fight each other, or maybe Luger and Giant are gonna have to fight each other. Get it a little bit.
It was weird because it was a four corners match with like two. So it was. I feel it was weird to watch because it's two tag teams. I guess that's the premise of the match. At least I did like Harlem Heat had different outfits on. I don't know if they did. Yeah, if they've been doing that on Nitro. I guess they did that on purpose for this match.
They said, the commentator said that Sherry's put them both in different outfits so they don't feel like a team. So they both go out there.
Yeah,
each man for themselves, kind of thing.
Yeah, but I thought that watching it, it was good that they did that. I like little things like that.
Little wardrobe nods, always very, very cool. But yeah, so it pretty much worked as a tag match, barring a couple of minutes where Stevie and Booker were against each other, and they did a few set pieces. But yeah, it was just it was just a tag match in my eyes.
Yeah, it was kind of a tag match that was weird because they stood in different corners, and I guess it was all about the anticipation of what's going to happen with Luger and Giant when they fall out at the end, and then they sort of twisted it and they didn't fall out and Giant let Luger win. But that was a bit weird. Like, why is Giant like? Is he sort of like asking for Luger's forgiveness still because he was under NWO? I don't really understand why he's been so nice to Luger. Like,
my eyes is they made a very prominent point of how young Big Show Giant was. So he's like 22, 23 at this point or something. Obviously Luger's been around for a long time. I think they kind of touched on it. How I interpreted the commentators at the end was Giant was basically sort of saying, look, this is your shot, you take it. I've got loads more down the line. I'm younger. I've got many more shots to come, kind of thing.
Okay, so this is a shot at Luger's age.
Yeah, basically.
He's his last chance. I know what it's leading to, so that's quite exciting because it's a moment I've been interested in seeing with Luger's title shot. But it was. I mean, the match was pretty average. I thought it was a bit weird as well with the four corners, and because it was average, I gave it a 5.
Yeah, exactly the same.
Yeah.
Just middle of the card match, nothing overly special, nothing. It should have been more, given the fact it was a number one contenders match.
Mm.
I think they had an idea, and it didn't work. So I don't think we'll see this kind of match again anywhere in the future.
Yeah, but still, considering, I would say 3 of the wrestlers in this, people don't think are very good wrestlers. I'd say Booker T is the only one people rate. I feel all the other 3 kind of get a hard time from the fans. Even Stevie Ray is always considered sort of the crap one out of Harlem Heat. Giant's limited because he's so big. Obviously, he can do athletic stuff, but I feel people's view of the Big Show is he's not great, and Luger just people think is terrible. But you watch this and it wasn't the best match, but you're like, those 3 actually, are pretty good at what they do.
Yeah, they can work a crowd, they can work an audience, they can tell a story, and that's enough sometimes, to get a reaction to have a good match. Which is why I only got a 5, because I thought it would at least, have been a 6 or 6.5. I was expecting something a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, we saw a great Luger match, didn't we? Was that against Giant where he racks him? That was a really good one. Yeah, and I remember thinking the same thing then. People just slate these 2. I really enjoyed this match. Yeah, even if he does have his weird little punches and clotheslines that he does, Luger, and it's sort of raw reaction.
Because I think that was the one where we actually had teased. I joked about doing the soundbite of Lex Luger having a better match than Eddie Guerrero or something.
Oh yeah,
it was like, yeah, there we go. So, but yeah, so obviously Luger wins. Luger gets the title shot against Hogan at a future show. I don't think it's the next one. I think it's the one after. I think obviously the Horsemen take front and center at the next show with it being in North Carolina.
I think it happens on Nitro. Anyway, we'll watch. We'll have to see. Yeah,
right.
I only know that through stuff I've read and podcasts I've listened to, because I never actually watched this era of WCW. I was WWF, so that's why I'm interested in seeing, just because I've heard a lot about what happens.
So it's main event time. It is.
Here we are, and I was really excited for this because it's been built up in my own mind for ages. Again, because I've heard about this match so much. Macho Man DDP views this as his coming out party, and it is, because if you think a few shows ago he was still mid card, he was against Buff Bagwell and stuff, and now he's against Macho Man, arguably not arguably, he is one of the biggest stars in wrestling, at one point second only to Hogan, really. And so yeah, this is a huge moment. Macho Man's he's just ridiculous, isn't he?
I love him. I absolutely love it. I love the pre-match walk backstage with Elizabeth, and he's just walking around, doing X, Y, and Z. And he even says to somebody, he's like, "Oh, my only concern is, where's the ring? Somebody has to point him in the right direction to get to the ring. That's his only concern is, I don't know where the ring is. That's it. That's all I'm worried about."
And he's saying to Elizabeth, he's you gotta let me with the other women. I'm not great at Macho Man. And he's just saying about he's going to be going off with all the other women after the match. And Elizabeth's nodding. It's just the way he does it, though, is just so comically Macho Man.
It's just awesome. He's definitely, I've said before, he's in my top 5. I absolutely love the guy. Then DDP, we get a little backstage interview. We obviously learned that Diamond's positivity comes from Kimberly, and straight onto the match. Like you sort of said, it's I think the match is more famous for the result than the actual match itself.
I agree. My expectations, I felt weren't completely met in this match, because it was built up so much in my mind. It wasn't a bad match, but to me it was like a sort of average no DQ match. I've seen lots of no DQ matches like that, and it's and also the finish is great with the diamond cutter, but I didn't realize there was so much of a smoz leading into it. I kind of thought it was going to be a huge clean win for DDP, and that's what propels him. But what did they do at the finish? Loads of people come out, didn't they? Because it was no DQ. So
Yeah.
let NWO come out, and I guess I can't remember what the finish was now, saying that, but I know lots of people interfered.
Yeah, it was just a general run of the mill NWO, like say numbers coming out.
Yeah.
Savage goes to do something, and it's just bam, diamond cutter.
Yeah, it's just
So
sort of
it was out of
where,
nowhere. It was, that was clean. And he gets to 1, 2, 3. But it's the aftermath afterwards. Which then I would have liked Diamond to get his moment to stand there, to soak it in, to get the fans to react. But obviously, it was more about Nick Patrick getting his ass kicked.
Yeah.
And Eric Bischoff getting pushed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The NWO continue to fall out, don't they? After the match, that was what annoyed me. I think the fact the NWO falling out was that was what made me mark Kevin Nash match down as well. I think I was just annoyed it's happening so early because I thought we were going to get more NWO for a while, but I probably
We still do. I mean, we get more and more NWO. To be fair, we get the Wolf Pack, we get the Black and White.
Yeah, I thought the Wolf Pack was like a '98 thing. I guess I'll find out what's happening, but it might take a while to build up.
I think it might be. I think it's a slow burn at the minute. It might be the last couple of years, last couple of months or something.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to see the Wolfpack or anything like that soon. We might see it sort of November, December time if it happens this year.
Yeah. What did you give this match?
I feel a bit harsh because it's such an iconic match, but it's not a great match. The moment is better than the match itself.
Yeah.
But because Savage is involved, I gave it a 7.
I gave it a 7. Yeah, I think that's same emotions. I felt like almost like I maybe should have marked it higher, but then I was like, I loved the fact it was DDP's like big moment, and I just loved Macho Man. But I just thought it was an average match. It was bumped up because of the moment. Yeah. But then maybe bumped down because of the silly finish.
Yeah. I wanted to give it 7.5. I didn't want to give it any. I didn't want to rate it higher than the Ultimo or the Malenko match.
True, and I certainly, I can't. Yeah, I wouldn't rate it lower than either of them. So I'm glad I bumped up the Malenko match. Yeah, because that was definitely better.
That's it. So it would have got a 7.5, but the ending, I was annoyed that DDP didn't, like I say, get his moment.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I guess you have watched this match before, have you? Back in the day. Yes, you knew what to expect because it was new to me, but it was.
I've watched it once. I did the whole WCW pay-per-views about 5 or 6 years ago. I went through WCW in the 90s as a whole. I watched all WCW pay-per-views from the 90s. So yeah, I've watched it once, but it's very easy to forget stuff because there's that much stuff to watch. It kind of got lost. I remembered it for the ending. I remembered it not even for the ending. I remembered it for the pinfall. So obviously the ending was the NWO shenanigans. But it was
Where
good.
is Hogan at the moment? Like, is he filming? I guess he's probably doing.
I don't think he's filming. I just think he's off. Obviously, they're saying he's with Rodman and stuff all the time at the minute, aren't they? So whether he's on a tour with Rodman to help promote, Double Team, whether that's part of Rodman's agreement with WCW is that they use a bit of their star power to hype up his film, which they are doing.
Yeah, because we're gonna get Rodman and Hogan versus DDP and Kobe Bryant. No, sorry, that's the who's the basketball player at this time? I can't remember.
No idea. I've just about this time I can think Rodman, Pippins, Bird, Jordan. Not Shaq, not yet.
Yeah, it's not quite as famous, but I do know the name. Well, I don't, but I thought I did.
There was a guy. It's going to come to me after this, but he had a line of trainers as well. Obviously not quite as good as the Air Jordans, but he did have. He had his own range of trainers as well.
Karl Malone, that's the guy. I've looked that up. I didn't remember it. Just full disclosure.
There you go. So yeah, you've got that to look forward to at some point. But overall, as a show, I think this might be my favourite WCW show that we've watched so far.
Yeah, I think so. What's it got to compete with? I think this is the best. Yeah, the best one. Like we saw.
Uncensored was all right. I enjoyed Uncensored because every match was kind of a little bit crazy in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
Plus, it was the sort of Benoit chain match.
that was really good. I can't remember what the main event was on that match. That was saying we were disappointed in the main event. It's probably the best main event we've seen.
Yeah.
Hogan's not there.
Yes. Yeah.
I've enjoyed his matches, but this is probably the best wrestling match in the main event we've seen.
Like you said though, before we hit record, it did feel, because Hogan wasn't there, it didn't feel quite as special.
Yeah.
You know, it lacked that sort of star
Yeah,
power.
it's like a double-edged sword. It's like, oh, this match is better than we usually get in the main event. And then I'm like, I kind of wish Hogan was here. Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. There's like I said,
it almost felt like it was missing a match, even though this was a great moment. It didn't feel like the main event of the show in a way.
Yeah, because which is it's just crazy when you think about it. Because obviously we know what DDP becomes. We obviously Savage has got the legacy at this point. But yeah, a Savage versus DDP match at this time.
It was a bold move to put DDP in the main event. Like, it's such a jump up, isn't it? Yeah. It's crazy. Like, you can see why he credits Macho Man so much, because it was Macho Man must have really given the okay on that, because they wouldn't have done it otherwise.
I've listened to a few things, like just Macho Man stuff mainly, but obviously this kind of gets incorporated in. But apparently, Diamond sort of said, they went back to talk about the match, because anybody who knows anything about Savage knows he was very particular about his matches. He liked to plan a lot of stuff out.
DDP is as well, actually. Yeah, I always get he's like quite meticulous from what he says.
But yeah, Diamond went in. Obviously, Agent was there. Savage was there. Diamond sat down, and apparently, Savage just looked at him and says, tonight I'm going to take the cutter. And that was it. And Diamond was like, oh shit, I wasn't expecting it in the slightest, but he's like, thank you.
Yeah, because it makes that move as well, doesn't it?
So it's just way Savage done it. If this, the way the stories are told, it's just like they're like, you know what, maybe tonight, I'm going to take the cutter. It's like, all right, cool, fair enough. That's it. Job's a good one. Best WCW show so far. And I kind of hope it's an upward curve. I'm looking forward to the next one now as a result of this.
Yeah.
The only one I'm not looking forward to is I know he's going to turn up at some point is Road Wild or Wild Hog, or I can't remember the actual name of the show, but it's like they do it every year and it's at a motorbike show. It's at.
I watched the 96 one. It's weird. Yeah. That's Bischoff and his bloody love for motorbikes and trying to bring it in. Doesn't really work, does it?
No,
I'm enjoying us talking about it. It's a weird show. I quite enjoyed watching the 96 one because it is a weird show, but it is, So I wouldn't say I'm enjoying I'm not looking forward to it, because I am, but it's probably
going to be good to talk. I think the 97 one's got Ric Flair versus Six as well, so that's a very intriguing match to look forward to.
Yeah, that is
weird. In weird surroundings. So, but overall, I would recommend watching this show. There's a couple of matches you could skip over. There's a couple of matches that I must see. The Ultimo one, obviously, and the Malenko Guerrero, and obviously the main event for
Malenko Benoit.
Yes, sorry, Malenko Benoit. Sorry, because he turns up at the end. And obviously, I was thinking Malenko and Guerrero at this point as being like the main feud. But I liked the just to go back to that one. I kind of like the mutual respect between Malenko and Benoit. They kind of touched upon it. So I don't know when it happens, but Malenko does become one of the Horsemen at some point down the line, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. So I guess this is leading into it.
So again, just kind of planting seeds for knowing what's going to happen.
And even like knowing what's going to happen later on with the Radicals and stuff was quite cool. Yeah, it's because Eddie's there too.
Yes, that's it. All we're missing is Perry, who turns up later on in the year. So we've got the debut of Perry Saturn to look forward to, which is something I thought I would never say.
I like Perry Saturn. I'm looking forward to him joining.
Well, that's it. I mean, later on in the year, we've got Post Saturn, we've got Raven.
Yeah, I'm
There's
looking
lots of
forward to
awesome
seeing
stuff.
the Raven stuff. Actually, I know Raven doesn't really like his time in WCW, but I do remember the only bits of WCW I watched. I distinctly remember the Raven sitting in the crowd stuff. I don't know why that really stood out to me when I was a kid.
That's it. Well, it was just cool, wasn't it? You know, Raven was cool. That was cool. So, yeah, highly recommend you watch this. Obviously, before we go, because we've hit the hour mark, I am just going to ask you about, obviously, True Grit, Jacob's Ladder.
Jacob's
Awesome name,
Ladder.
by the way. Awesome name for a show. I
I'm
love
glad
the
you
film.
think so. Some people don't get it, but
I,
I really like it. I think a few people have asked me, like, "Who's Jacob?" I'm like, "No, it's just like
oh,
just
if nothing
horrible."
else, it's an awesome film starring Tim Robbins, for God's sake. But
I've not actually
um,
seen the film, but I am aware of the film, and yeah, in fact, I'm going to watch it before Jacob's Ladder get me in the in the mood for my own show. Well, it would be difficult not to be in the mood for it because I hope enjoy my own shows, and this one in particular, I think I'm going to, and I think everyone's loving it actually because it's own. I've not announced any matches other than the main event, the ladder match between Crash Boat, Misery Business, Leon Slater, Jet Marshall, and tickets are flying. Like they're going way quicker than. Like I was thinking today, like, oh, we still got six weeks to the show, and like, yeah, the front row ticket's going to be gone soon. And usually at this point, I'm like, oh no, why am I a promoter? Like, so yeah, hopefully that will continue. But no, I'm happy with how it's going, and the fact people are so pumped for the main event. I think people are excited for first ever ladder match in True Grit, and Leon Slater were well. Misery Business were against Leon Slater and Jet Marshall at you weren't at Nightmare, but it was such a good match. I included that match actually last minute because I was like, we need like a real good first half main event, and I think that'll do it. And also, I wanted the tag teams on because we got this big show, so it was almost like an introduction to the Jacob's Ladder show, and it was so good. Like it went beyond expectations, and I think all of them have got so much better. Like Misery Business just works so well as a team now. They're great. Jet Marshall is great, and Leon Slater, like his star power he's not been on one of my shows since March, and the difference is he's like a superstar now. Even my stepdad runs a bar at the York shows. He's not a wrestling fan at all. In fact, I would say he's potentially the opposite. Like, I'm not sure if he really gets it, but he was looking at that and he's looked at me and he went, that guy will go far. And I was like, he already is. Like, he's an absolute superstar. And it was a really good match.
Awesome. I heard nothing but good stuff about it. Obviously, yeah, I wasn't able to make the York show. But obviously, I talked to people afterwards, and again, nothing but positive feedback. Everybody's thoroughly enjoyed it. B.A. Rose and Serico.
That was incredible as well. Yeah, two like first half and second half main events were incredible. The whole show was great. There was lots of good stuff on there.
Well, obviously, Sean only had his open challenge. Joey made his debut.
That was a real talking point, actually. Like it was, it was definitely the most talked about Sean only challenge we've had, and probably the best one. Like it was really good, and at the end they did like a mutual respect thing, and Sean only like turned on him, but. And I'm sure there was some people like in the audience like he's obviously going to turn, but he brought the audience in. Like they definitely thought for a moment because it was. I think they did it really because the match was so good. Like people were like, oh, maybe this is like a genuine thing. Like he's just gone into business for himself because it was such a good match. And so young Joey Cement should be proud of himself. He was, he went above and beyond. I think all round actually because he did that promo. I don't know if you saw it online, and that was like way better than I thought it was going to be. And then and because of that, like I put them in a longer match, and it was really good. Yeah, he did well. He should be proud of himself.
Cool. Well, that's definitely something for him to be happy about. It gets his name on people's people talking about him, basically, which is obviously in the wrestling business awesome. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Jacob's Ladder, man. I'm looking forward to seeing matches obviously get announced, but I'm looking forward to it without the matches. Just that poster as well, dude. That poster is stacked.
Yeah, there's a lot of good wrestlers on there, aren't there?
Obviously, noticed Lana Austin's back. Not seen her, I think, since last year or March this year.
I've taken note of that. A lot of people have mentioned Lana. They're like, "Oh, Lana's on it." Like, I'd say people are really excited for her being back. So that'll be good to have her on.
That's it. Oh, she is. She's old school True Grit talent as well.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean?
I think two reasons. I think she's old school True Grit. I've had her on shows before, and she's Progress Women's Champion. Like, she's a huge star now. So I think people just really know who Lana is, and looking forward to seeing her.
Yeah, no, definitely. So obviously, I will sort of say, if you haven't got a ticket, get a ticket. It's going to be an awesome show as always. It's even going to be even more awesome because of that main event, first ever ladder match. All 6 guys involved are just next level. So yeah, we're talking about an absolute barn burner, match of the year contender for me. So make sure you're there, dude. Do you want to shout out the True Grit socials?
True Grit Wrestle on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and True Grit Wrestling on YouTube. Check us out. And TrueGritWrestling.com, where you can get updates and details about the tickets. Check our socials as well. Tonight I release dates for 2024, so just get them in your diaries. Tickets not on sale yet, but they will be soon. But make sure you take down the dates, because it's going to be a busy year next year.
Definitely, dude. Because I sort of saw, you post, like you wanted to, like you kind of hit that sort of every month or every 6 weeks kind of.
Every month, there's 12 shows next year.
Damn. So I'll get saving. I'll get some better shoes for walking if needs be. So this is dude. It's been an absolute pleasure. Obviously, we will be back very soon with whatever WWE had to offer in May. So we're getting close to Canadian Stampede. So I'm like, we just get these shows done so we can watch Canadian Stampede. But yeah, dude, thank you so much for obviously joining me. We will see you again very soon. Obviously, hit like, hit subscribe, share, comment, do all the normal sort of stuff. Click the bell so you know when new episodes drop. Got some cool stuff coming up. So yeah, thank you very much, and we will see you very soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.